Right now, Danny Masterson is currently facing more jail time than Harvey Weinstein originally received. This comes after being found guilty of R-wording 2 women. There were also huge accusations levied against the Church of Scientology in the part they played. This includes making a victim of Danny's pay $15,000 to enter their therapy services, silencing others, and watching as Danny laughed at the victim's abuse. Gaining fame mostly off of that 70s show, Danny still had very powerful friends besides the church, including the likes of Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, with this case reaching a peak of popularity after it was found out that each of them wrote a letter positively describing Danny's character for the judge to read. They highlighted that they had never seen him do anything malicious to somebody and that he had helped both of them stay very clear of drugs in their careers. Besides that, they also emphasized that he is a father, and leaving his child without a parent is one of the hardest things to do to somebody. With all that being said, these letters gained mass attention, with people yelling and calling them rape apologists. Although these letters seem to be a PR nightmare, it is more understandable if you look at it a bit differently. These letters were written after Danny's guilty charge before his sentencing. That means that the letters were not meant to get him off the hook, but for the judge to keep in mind while sentencing. After a long career of fighting victims of sexual abuse, I really do not believe that Ashton and Mila were trying to undermine the court's decision or the victim's peace. Besides that, these people are legitimate best friends, and they wrote this letter for the potential of this said best friend to be with their child. For some people this is too far, and even if that is your truth, I do not think that this one lapse of judgment should define who they are. After fighting for these victims for so long, they should receive some sort of benefit of the doubt. But the internet's mob mentality combined with a vicious memory allows these stories to blow up. On the other hand, nobody's speaking about the bigger story in this case. The fact that the Church of Scientology hid these accusations for almost 20 years, and the vile things they did in the meantime. Danny was accused by many women, but for the purpose of this video we will mainly be focusing on Jane Doe 1 and 2, with a little mention of the third victim. All three of them were a part of the church, and Jane Doe 1, or 1 for short, was a second generation member. She first encountered Masterson at his house during a party in early 2003. At the peak of his fame, everybody wants to talk to Masterson. He approached one and then gave her a drink. At the time everything seemed wonderful, but that would quickly change. She started to feel a lot weaker to the point of fainting. Due to her weakened state, Masterson led her upstairs and took advantage of her. Without getting too graphic, she did fight and try to stop him with a lamp, but he threatened her with a gun and choked her out when she initially reached for it. The incident appears to have ended soon thereafter, and Doe 1 ended up back home the next day. She was bruised and beat up, but she was home. She could not remember everything after the drink, so she was confused on what to do next. As they were both Scientology members, she decided to talk to her Master at Arms, a lawyer named Julian Schwartz. In the church, a Master of Arms is basically one of the head ethics people. For us normal people, think of them as an HR department, but instead of serving a company, they're serving the church. She was silenced here and told not to mention it, and especially not to report it to the police department. If she kept up with this behavior, the church would deem her an SP, or suppressive person. That basically meant getting blacklisted from the church and becoming their enemy. Instead, she would pay $15,000 to go through Scientology counseling. You see, these people believe that they have been living through many lives, and this is just one of them. After some training, you sign a contract to vow yourself to the church for 1 billion years. With that being said, Doe 1's counseling consisted of her recalling her so-called past lives, and she discussed all the wrongdoings that she caused in those lives to make her deserve what had happened. This happened for a long time in many sessions, which led to such an enormous bill. She had been suffering non-stop, and the church was not done yet. They set up a meeting between her and Masterson to discuss the situation. During her retelling of the story, she mentioned that she reached for the lamp to try to stop him, but he choked her out before she could do anything. Masterson joked that he loved that lamp and that he did not want her to break it. Besides that, he cracked one more joke during the meeting, and it led to it being terminated early. Soon thereafter, Doe 1 heard from a different girl who had been R-worded by Masterson. With the confirmation of the assault from the meeting and hearing a similar story, she sent a letter to the head of the church's ethics sect. She asked if she could report the crime without being labeled an SP. He responded that she should really take a look at the alternatives and the possible consequences very carefully. No matter, she went to the police department and reported the case about a year after the incident. You have to remember, she was sacrificing all familial connections and the connection to everybody else she had met from the church. But for her, it all seemed worth it to protect herself and the others from Masterson. This case did not go very far, as the station started to receive an immense amount of contradictory reports from different church members. Without any more reports corroborating the stories on Masterson, the department was forced to close their investigation. Jane Doe too became a Scientologist at the age of 16 after her mother had set her up. Near the end of 2003, she was living just a walk away from Masterson. After sharing similar social circles, they ended up exchanging phone numbers. After that initial contact, he reached out telling her that she was coming over now and to get in his pool. It was not really a question, but a command. For most people, you could ask, why did she decide to go over there though? But you have to remember the context. She was indoctrinated into this church that acts as a cult, along with Masterson being an extremely high-ranking member of the aforementioned group. So she did end up complying with the orders, but she set some conditions. She would not bring a bikini. With that being agreed upon, she arrived. On her arrival, she was handed a drink. After this, the night started to become blurry. She recalls getting told to take off her clothes and ending up in the bathroom. Here, Danny followed her into the shower, and she recalls objecting to this and everything that happened afterwards. It is a foggy recollection, but after days of examination, her story stayed consistent. After the event, she could not contextualize what had actually happened, and after such a traumatic event and years of being brainwashed by a cult, it seems very understandable. Many victims of sexual abuse and rape do not realize it until a long time after. Besides that, she was definitely scared and could not mention this to a lot of her friends due to everyone being a part of the church. Jane Doe 2 never did report it to the police until a long time after. Masterson's justice would come in great part due to his ex-girlfriend, Chrissy Bexler. She accused him of doing something very similar to her. She was given drinks that made her disoriented, followed by aggressive sexual advances that she rejected. Chrissy made the accusation public and likewise herself. I do believe her story personally, however, Masterson was not convicted regarding her case due to lack of evidence. Regardless, she did play a major part in all this. She reported to her Master of Arms as well, but was silenced, just like Doe 1. After years of reflecting, she heard from an old friend about Doe 1's case, and it led to a revelation. Chrissy reported her case to the Austin Police Department shortly thereafter, which caused a chain reaction. From there, they reopened Jane Doe 1's case and the news hit the mainstream. This allowed Doe 2 the courage to report her instance and at least 5 others to do the same. From here, the rest is history. Masterson is facing over 30 years in prison, which will last until he's at least in his early 70s. Ashton and Mila messed up, but we should not be caught up in those headlines. There is still a whole case going on regarding this cult and all the abuse they hid and currently hide. We cared about the victims, we want all parties shown justice. There's a lot more to explore here, and if you want a deeper dive, let me know. If you want to hear more in the meantime, check out this video. Leave a like if you like, leave a dislike if you dislike. Peace out.